We are walking onto the floor of a modern manufacturing hub for a routine safety audit. From the outside, this facility checks every compliance box. Inside, the stakes are high. You have millions of dollars tied up in proprietary equipment, raw materials, and high-density inventory moving along the assembly lines. For the facility manager, the primary operational directive is clear: lock it down. Every manager's nightmare is inventory shrinkage, employee theft, or unauthorized industrial espionage. To execute that directive, strict access control becomes the standard operating procedure. Every perimeter door and loading dock is monitored, restricted, and tightly secured against unauthorized movement. But as our audit moves away from the main production floor and traces the designated emergency evacuation routes, a severe conflict emerges. We reach the primary fire exit, the crucial egress point meant to save hundreds of lives in a crisis. Instead of a free door, we find a heavy steel chain and padlock wrapped tightly around the panic bar. This is not an isolated incident. Field data indicates that in approximately 90% of Indian commercial buildings, these critical life safety paths are intentionally obstructed to prioritize asset protection. The facility features millions of dollars in modern fire infrastructure. Sprinkler systems, smoke detectors, and pressurized shafts are all active. Yet a $10 padlock entirely defeats them. Prioritizing inventory protection creates a scenario where a legally compliant building functions as a death chamber during a crisis. This contradiction is the exit paradox. The exact physical measures put in place to ensure facility security directly compromise the ability of occupants to survive a disaster. The National Building Code of India strictly prohibits this exact scenario. The code mandates a continuous and unobstructed path of travel from any occupied point in the building directly to a public way. Look at the code itself. Clause 4.7.5 explicitly states that exit doorways shall be openable from the side which they serve without the use of a key. You cannot require specialized knowledge or special effort to get out. The NBC recognizes that human panic is an uncontrollable hazard in a fire. The purpose of a visible, immediate means of egress is to prevent panic from developing into a fatal crush. In high-rise and industrial settings, these doors are rigorously engineered. They are rated to resist 120 minutes of intense heat and gas penetration. But that engineering fails its purpose if the occupants are trapped on the wrong side of the door. A padlock on a fire exit represents a premeditated violation of fundamental life safety laws, rather than a minor administrative oversight. Management teams frequently defend the padlock with a standard protocol. A designated security guard or floor manager holds the key and will simply unlock the door if an alarm sounds. Forensic analysis proves this protocol fails instantly. A modern commercial fire involves rapid combustion of synthetic materials, plastics, insulation, and fabrics, generating dense, toxic smoke. This chart illustrates the evacuation timeline. In an average environment, smoke production reduces visibility to near zero in under 30 seconds. Simultaneously, a second threshold is crossed. Under extreme stress, the brain's prefrontal cortex shuts down. Rational thought plummets alongside oxygen levels. Human response to fire is dictated by neurobiology. In emergencies, heat and smoke trigger survival responses, bypassing logical decision-making. This is called an amygdala hijack. The brain hands total control over to primal survival instincts, leading to irrational behavior, severe reaction delays, and psychological paralysis. Occupants experience cognitive tunneling. They lose peripheral awareness, fixating entirely on the locked exit door as an insurmountable wall. This triggers a dangerous herd behavior known as the faster is slower effect. The collective desperation to escape creates a physical crush of bodies against the locked door, preventing anyone from moving backward to find another route. Finding a key and operating a padlock takes 5 to 10 seconds on a normal day. Attempting that same task in darkness, inhaling toxic gas, while crushed by a panicked crowd, is physically impossible. When visibility is zero and rational thought collapses, manual unlocking fails the basic requirements of life safety. In a fire resulting in death, the Indian legal system moves rapidly beyond civil penalties. A locked fire exit is prosecuted as a criminal offense. The Occupational Safety, Health, and Working Conditions Code of 2020 imposes explicit, non-delegable obligations. Employers, factory managers, and building owners are legally bound to ensure functional safety equipment and structural compliance. Prosecutors rely on Section 304A of the Indian Penal Code, which addresses causing death by a negligent act. A chained exit door serves as prima facie evidence of that gross negligence. The courts apply the doctrine of vicarious liability to corporate disasters. This means accountability does not stop with the low-level facility manager who purchased the padlock. Liability travels straight up the corporate ladder to the directors, owners, and the CEO. To secure a conviction, the prosecution does not need to prove malicious intent. They only need to prove the executives knew, or should have known, that ignoring mandatory fire safety norms put human lives at foreseeable risk. We see this enforced in the aftermath of mass casualty events like the Ufar Cinema and Anaj Mandi fires. The courts hold institutional authorities directly responsible for blocking egress and failing to maintain basic safety mechanisms. The ultimate penalty for prioritizing assets over life safety is loss of liberty, often culminating in corporate manslaughter charges. For the C-suite, the judicial message is unambiguous. A locked fire exit directly leads to a culpable homicide conviction. Organizations do not have to choose between protecting their inventory and protecting their people. The conflict between security and survival has a solution. The mechanical replacement for the padlock is fire exit hardware, commonly known as the panic bar. Pressing this bar unlatches the door, allowing immediate egress even in total darkness, and complies strictly with IS 15101 and EN 1125 standards. To satisfy security needs, these bars can be equipped with high-decibel local alarms. Unauthorized use triggers a loud siren to alert guards, preventing theft without physically trapping the occupants. For environments requiring strict access control, the solution is the electromagnetic lock, or maglock. This diagram shows the sequence of operation required for code compliance. The maglock must be wired directly to the building's fire alarm panel. When a detector senses smoke, the panel cuts power and the door releases automatically. This creates a vital fail-safe logic. Unlike standard mechanical locks that stay engaged, if a severe fire destroys the building's electrical system, the magnet simply de-energizes. The exit remains open. Modern access control hardware renders the physical padlock entirely obsolete, and its continued use legally indefensible. Executives and risk officers must immediately commission third-party audits specifically to evaluate this exit paradox within their facilities. You must mandate the total eradication of physical padlocks, heavy industrial chains, and complex secondary locking mechanisms from every designated egress path. Legal and HR departments need to replace reactive cover-up policies with transparent victim-first evacuation protocols. True organizational resilience requires moving risk management out of the shadows. It demands a proactive, uncompromising approach to life safety.